Just a quick note before we get started. So this video is about voting. I feel like I've done a few videos that talk about the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and how the Civil Rights Movement made life better and more equal for all minorities and even white women, because white women were the #1 benefactors of DEI. I've told you the story of Mr. John Lewis, aka Mr. Good Trouble, and Bloody Sunday. On March 7, 1965, known as Bloody Sunday, John Lewis led 600 civil rights marchers across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, where they were brutally attacked by state troopers. Lewis was 25 and he suffered a skull fracture from a billy club beating, and the televised footage of the violence accelerated the passage of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. So the Supreme Court has literally kicked off what I and anyone with a working logical brain calls the fucking reckoning. I'm not being dramatic or trying to rile everyone up. Wait. Yes I am. Hashtag Drita. The Heritage Foundation and Trump's regime have found a way to help Trump be dirty and give him a big boost in the midterms. A fair fight? Never that. So now we have got to be ready. Go look at the videos I've made about the SAVE Acts and grab a YN and let's chat. Yesterday in Louisiana versus Chalice gutted Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The 6-3 Supreme Court decision effectively nullifies Section 2 and, as Justice Elena Kagan wrote in dissent, threatens a half-century's worth of gains in voting equality. Section 2 addresses racial vote dilution, a tactic commonly used to reduce the power of black voters in the South after the Voting Rights Act. When states could no longer deny ballots to black Americans, they used electoral maps and at-large election systems to give minority citizens votes no or minimal weight. As with other racially discriminatory voting practices, states obscured their intentions with race-neutral language and justifications, which made it extremely difficult for voters to prove intentional discrimination. So Congress conditioned Section 2 liability not on intent, but on the discriminatory effects of a districting scheme, and transformed Section 2 into an effective tool for communities to challenge racial discrimination in voting. The 1982 amendment to Section 2 led to dramatic increases in representation. While only 18 black people were elected to the 96th Congress, which was 1979 to 81, the 119th Congress, which was 25 to 27, put up a whole shit ton. Nationwide, the number of black elected officials in the U.S. has surged from 1,469 in the 70s to more than 10,000 today. So yes, they are still fucking with black people about voting, because we are powerful, and they know it. So, hey y'all, it's the Mental Breakdown. Based on the comments in my videos, we need this. This is and will be a simple series about government and how it works. A collaboration between the Connections Academy for Kids and me. I pray that learning about the structure of the government will lead some of you to be informed about every election and actually vote. I will also show you that this realm of hell we're in under the Trump regime is not supposed to be like this. This whole shit is outrageous and illegal. Also, I know that everyone isn't as into the government and Constitution as I am. So let's break this down. The U.S. government is split into 3 equal branches to ensure that no single person or group has too much power, a system known as checks and balances. It consists of the legislative branch, who makes laws, the executive branch, who is supposed to enforce the laws, and the judicial branches interpret the laws, operating under the Constitution to balance federal and state power. So here is a simple breakdown of how it works. The legislative branches, which include Congress, makes laws, declares war, and controls taxes and spending. It consists of two parts. The Senate has 100 senators, 2 per state, and the House of Representatives has 435 members based on population. And per our Constitution, Congress is supposed to declare war. The executive branch is the president. This branch normally enforces laws, commands the armed forces, and acts as head of state. This branch includes the president, vice president, and cabinet members who advise the president. So again, the president is supposed to enforce the laws, not break them. The primary role is to ensure federal laws are carried out, which is done through departments and agencies. But remember that when this regime in Doge came in, they were cutting everything and firing everyone, mostly black women. Please understand that Doge stole everyone's social security and personal information. Next is the judicial, aka the Supreme Court. The court interprets laws, applies the Constitution, and settles legal cases. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the country. The whole ass point is checks and balances. Remember those colonizers and the colonists we talked about last year? They were throwing their shit into the drinking water and caused cholera and trichinosis. They came here while initially British grew apart from the British monarchy due to taxation without representation, ultimately leading to a desire for self-governance. With all these tariffs, murders, illegal executive orders, and actions, the Trump family selling off parts of this country while doing wild ass shit with stocks and financial firms, I'm not feeling very represented. And I pay taxes. Also, I did not vote for this shit. The president can veto laws passed by Congress, but Congress can override that veto. Then we have federalism, which means power is divided between the federal, aka national government, and state governments. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land that defines these powers. I never leave home without mine. The United States is a democratic system based on the idea that a fair and just government is made by the people, where individuals can elect governing leaders that represents their beliefs, until yesterday when the Supreme Court fucked up the whole thing that our people have fought and died for, to have a say in how we are governed. Voting helps us shape the government to represent the priorities of its citizens, which is why it is crucial to know the importance of voting. Voting is a part of America's civic duty. There are many voices that are not being heard. Elected officials help determine which government services are offered, how public schools are operated, which roads are fixed, how national security is maintained, and more. Everything the government does, both locally and nationally, is impacted by the leaders that are elected by voters. American citizens over 18 can vote for someone to represent them in elections ranging from local town councils all the way to the President of the United States. At the federal government level, Americans vote for the President of the United States every 4 years. The members in the House of Representatives, which makes up one side of Congress, every 2 years is when we vote for them. We vote for senators every 6 years. The Senate forms the other side of Congress. There are 435 members in the House of Representatives. That number was determined by the 1929 Permanent Apportionment Act. The number of representatives that each state has is determined by the state's population. States with higher populations have more representatives. All states are represented equally in the Senate per the U.S. Constitution. Every state has 2 senators. And just an FYI, Puerto Ricans are in fact American citizens, but they can't vote for president from Puerto Rico. Just a quick fucked up the more you know. Most elections are determined by popular vote, meaning the candidate with the most votes at the end of the election day wins. But the office of the president is determined by the Electoral College. And some hot bullshit, in my opinion, was established in the Constitution as a compromise between having the president elected by popular vote or by having the members of Congress do it for us. Each state is allotted the same number of electors in the Electoral College as they have members in Congress. The District of Columbia also has 3 electors. The candidate with the most votes in that state earns the state's Electoral College votes. It takes at least 270 electors for the candidate to win the election. Because of the Electoral College, some presidential candidates have won the election even though they lost the popular vote. Your vote is how you say what you want. It's your voice. By voting, a group of people can come to a fair decision when they do not all agree. And you know what that's called? A democracy. Again, democracy is a type of government in which people vote to choose government leaders. They may also vote for or against certain laws or projects in their community. I know this may be a lot to understand, but we are going to keep chugging along until we know everything we need to know about voting. And then hopefully you'll take that ass to vote. Bye.